Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Stephanie Stevens Show. Thank you guys so much for joining me here on my Zoom channel. I want to just say thank you guys so much for all of the support and love that you have given me to encourage me to go on with my own show. And I am blessed to be doing these 12 episodes to do the proposal to Netflix. So hopefully by the blessings of God, we will get the show on prime time. So, but today I have the incredible, the fabulous from Baton Rouge, Louisiana. We have in the house the incredible Miss Westland, Miss Mercedes Black, and she's also Miss Heavenly. How are you, lady?
I'm doing well, and yourself?
I'm great. What's the weather like in Baton Rouge?
Well, today it is actually raining outside. It's really bad, so.
Oh, okay. So what's the date?
I'm going to stay in the castle today and chill with you.
Oh, okay, wonderful. Now, is Baton Rouge your home?
Well, no, it's actually not. I'm a native of Louisiana. I'm actually, I was born and raised in a small town, of course, a little country girl, called, well, we say New Roads. If I say Rougon, a lot of people would know what that is. So it's kind of like maybe 30 to 45 minutes away from Baton Rouge. So that's where I was born and raised. But I'm just a little country girl, so.
You know, I tell people all the time, I'm from Orlando. So I'm from the Bible Belt. And I moved to Canada 30 years ago. So now I'm going to retire back in Fort Lauderdale, you know, my hometown. Now, how long have you been doing pageants?
Well, I've been doing pageants since about the mid to late 90s. I started maybe about 95, 96. Mm-hmm. And actually, I started off as, I guess, my lover, I guess I started off as a backup dancer. I wasn't really into pageants and stuff like that. Of course, growing up in school, I was kind of like a part of theater things. I would do different events with school. But of course, you know, at that age, you really don't know where life is going to take you. So it's very interesting that now, looking back at it, I think in high school, some of the things that you don't realize is happening at the time, or maybe took it for granted. I think it was kind of preparing me for who I was going to become later on in life. I had no idea that when I was a part of the theater club that I would actually be a part of the actual staging in life. So it's been about maybe over 20 years since I've been doing it.
Wonderful. Now, just so I can go back. Now, have you always felt like you were Mercedes Black? Did you always feel just glamorous? Because, you know, pageantry is about glamorous, maybe did you always feel that you were Mercedes Black?
Growing up, I knew at a very young age I was different. You know, at that age, you don't quite know what to label it as. Some people may have thought, well, you know, back then they called us sissies, faggots, punks. But to me, I was just being myself. I was always fairly feminine. So, you know, like I said, as a child, you don't have the terminology for what it is. You just know that you're yourself and you don't think you're doing anything wrong. But I've always been fairly feminine. So I kind of, you know, always felt, I wouldn't say different, but I knew I was special, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Now, a quick question. You don't have to answer this. I know a lot of people answer this, but I think it also, it makes it clear to a lot of people that the question I'm going to ask you is not what is always the case when we end up looking the way we do. Now, a lot of people think that we play in our mama's clothes or we played with Barbie dolls. Now, did you do any of that?
I did, actually.
Oh, okay.
I can remember being a child, and it's really funny because I'm the oldest of my siblings, and it's 3 other boys. So to me, I've always felt like I was the girl. So, you know, while they were outside playing football, playing basketball, I was always in the house playing with the girls, combing in baby dolls' hair. I remember one time my grandmother caught me playing in lipstick. I had a face full of lipstick. And you can imagine, you know, how that was. But yeah, I've just always been a girly girl. I've never really done boyish things. I've always, you know, done stuff like that. I can remember in an early age, even now, I don't even own a pair of jeans because I've always liked the idea of dressing up. know, looking a certain way. Like I don't even own tennis shoes, so baseball caps, stuff like that. So I've always been kind of fairly girlish, if that makes sense, or always knew that I wanted to dress a certain way. So it's really strange, but life kind of comes full circle when you get to a certain age and you realize where you are. So
Yeah, it does. It
some things
truly
are
does.
really destined to be, you know.
Now, what was the first pageant you ever entered?
Oh wow. Let's see. The first pageant that I actually ever entered, it was a pageant that is here in Baton Rouge. Um, the pageant was called Playgirl Bunny.
Okay.
And it was like kind of like it wasn't a national title. It was kind of like I would consider it to be on the level of a talent night type pageant. It was kind of like, you know, anybody could have done it. You didn't have to have been in the business very long. And it was just something to kind of get your feet wet. And I can remember actually right before I actually did that pageant, there was a talent night, and it was my first time. I was afraid. I was like, oh my God, what is going on, you know? And so I can remember performing Anita Baker. I apologize. And I was, from what they told me, I was going to win the talent night. But when I looked down, my breast cup, titty cup as we call it, was rolling across the stage. So there it goes. There goes it. So, but I kept at it, you know, and it just kind of worked out. But, you know, of course, in the beginning of anything that you do, you know, and people don't really know you. I was fairly new to the city. As a matter of fact, I had graduated, was going to college, and ended up going to the gay club with my cousin, you know, and I was fascinated by it. And it was something that I was intrigued by. And so in the beginning, you know, there's going to be people like, you know, and I tell this all the time, you know, when you first start doing something, of course, you're not going to be as knowledgeable about it. But as time comes, you know, of course, you gain the wisdom and knowledge that you need to progress. But you know, there was people that kind of, I guess, ridiculed me because I wasn't, quote unquote, the popular girl, or, you know, it was very hard. And I tell people, you know, sometimes you just have to do what you believe in and continue to follow your journey, because everybody's journey is not going to be the same. And a lot of those people that I started with today, they're not even, I would say, competing. They're not doing things. They just didn't keep up, you know, and everybody's path is going to be different. So I always tell people, you know, the people that you start with sometimes are not necessarily going to be the people that you continue with. And just because they don't see the tunnel at the end, you know, the light at the end of the tunnel, doesn't mean you can't see it. You know, because you're going to have those people that's going to say, well, you're never going to be anything. You're not going to win this. Oh, you're not good enough. But you have to keep on to what your beliefs are. You know, some people can't do what they want.
Yeah. You know, determination is the key to anything. And people don't understand that. You don't just achieve something overnight. Bill Gates didn't build Microsoft overnight.
Right.
He kept at it until he got what he wanted, and now look at the success of it. So I would say anything in life, you have to be determined to get it and never stop at it. You have to keep working at it. Life is work in progress. Now, what was the first pageant you actually won?
Oh, that was so many years ago. The first pageant that I actually won was a pageant here in Baton Rouge called Miss Cover Girl.
Okay.
Now, at this point, I had kind of studied, you know, I'm the type of person, like, I like to study things. So I feel like if you study, you can, you know, make yourself better. At that point, all the girls here had pretty much won, and then I was the up and coming girl. And so at this point, I had kind of built up like a fan base, and people started backing me because they saw that I was serious. And I won Miss Cover Girl, and the person that was over the pageant, he was somebody who always believed in me. God rest his soul. He ended up getting murdered, unfortunately. But he was someone that really saw a passion in me, and it kind of pushed me. So that was the first pageant that I won, Miss Cover Girl.
Miss Cover Girl. Now, how did you feel when you won that pageant? What did it tell you? Because once you win the pageant, that crown tells you something.
Winning that pageant made me feel like it was a moment of celebration for me, because, like I said, a couple of years before that, I had been doing it like a year or so. And so, you know, when so many people tell you the things that you can't do, and then you just continue to do it in spite of all that, pushing your way through all the negativity and all the drama, and then you achieve something that you really want, it tells you that you're worth it and you're worthy, and you just have to believe in yourself. It was a defining moment for me, because of course you already deal with certain things being gay, people chastising you, or so to speak, talking down on you and making you feel that just because you are who you are, you're not going to be anything of value, or you're not going to become anything. So to me, that was a defining moment of letting me know that I may not be everybody's cup of tea, but I am somebody's cup of tea, So that was a defining moment.
It's wonderful you said it that way. People forget at the end of the day, we're human beings. They forget that. And pageants and whatever else we add on is just part of life that can make our lives exciting. Now, have you ever entered a pageant and felt they cheated you?
Several.
And you don't have to say the names because we don't want them, writing comments. But do you think sometimes pageants are actually rigged and set up?
From my honest experience, yes. Because I feel like I learned at an early age. I'm 44 now, and I've been doing pageants probably since I was about 19. So I learned at an early age that this is a business. It's the industry, just like anything else. And from learning about pageants, it led me to believe that, it's just like a job interview. It doesn't matter if it's 15 contestants, it can be 20 contestants. Those judges are looking for the person that they feel is going to represent them best. And sometimes you haven't worked your name up to that. So sometimes it's like, even now today, there's many pageants that you'll go in and you may be good, but it doesn't mean you're the best. And so sometimes people are just going to overlook you. Everyone, that's why I feel like they have like certain sororities or fraternities. Sometimes you just don't belong. And it's not that you're not good enough, but everything doesn't fit everybody. Sometimes they're looking for a specific aesthetic when it comes to pageantry and certain looks. In some instance, it's about politics. It's really political, just like anything else is in life.
Now, do you think that your road to pageantry, is that the only goal you're trying to achieve? Is that how you make a living right now?
Well, no, honestly, I've always been kind of career-driven and goal-oriented. I set myself up a very long time ago. I'm actually an insurance agent for Allstate. I've been with them for about 2 years. So, I enjoy pageants, but I also know what this industry is very fickle. Like, you may be the girl today, but girls are coming out every moment. Girls are coming out every second. So tomorrow I might not be that girl. So I've always found a way to push myself out there to be in the corporate world, because as we all know, pageants come and go, fame comes and goes. People may live for you today and tomorrow they might not even like you. So I've always set myself up to make sure I had something to fall back on.
Wonderful.
Don't just rely on one thing. I always encourage my friends, a few friends that I do have, I always tell them, always set yourself up, because if something happens, you want to be financially stable to continue your livelihood. Like right now, we don't know what's going to happen with this pandemic. A lot of girls that I know, they used female impersonation or drag as a career. And unfortunately, some of those girls now are struggling because of, what's going on. And it's really unfortunate. So
now, do you recommend, like I was talking to one of the performers from Florida. She has a show coming up on my channel soon. She said to me that the girls today need to understand that they need a second career, and there is no other alternative, because like you said, drag is not for certain. Now, we see that because I just want to put it out there that I want to talk about the RuPaul Drag Race for a minute, because he mentioned it. Now, what do you think? You don't have to elaborate. We know it's good. The RuPaul Drag Race is good for putting us in the mainstream.
Right.
Something that a lot of the national pageants have been trying to do for decades. Now, do you think that it's a good thing or a bad thing with the way drag looks now that is represented in the mainstream?
I think with the RuPaul's Drag Race, I think it's a great avenue for a lot of girls to make a livelihood or to make a career out of it. But I don't think, in my honest opinion, I don't think that RuPaul has basically done anything that anybody else hadn't done. I think he was very smart and genius in branding it to make sure it was brought to the forefront. But girls have been doing that for years. I mean, it's a lot of people. I can name a lot of entertainers that have been doing this for years. I don't think they probably used all the avenues that they had that RuPaul has done. But I mean, history repeats itself. I just think he was able to get involved with people who can push him into a network that allowed it to be on television. But we've been doing this for years. Drag has been around for decades. You know, some of the girls from when I was growing up as a little girl, you know, like Tommy Ross, Naisha, Tasha Long, those girls have been doing this for years. Unfortunately, maybe back then they didn't have the resources or the finances to get involved or get in positions where they could meet executives to bring it to the forefront to television networks. But RuPaul had those avenues. So I applaud that because it's still in some way giving back to the community of which we love and employing some of those girls who probably wouldn't have even had an opportunity so big. You know, I always tell this story all the time. If I had not been involved in female impersonation, I probably would not have experienced a lot of the things that I've experienced, like traveling to a lot of different places, you know, meeting so many different people, getting opportunities that I have. So I'm glad that it was brought to the forefront because it opens up people's objective that we're human just like everybody else and we deserve the same respect. You know, all of us are not out killing, murdering, or doing certain things. It shows that we're thriving individuals who are talented, intelligent, and we have things and goals and desires that we want as well. So I'm very glad that all, you know, intertwined with being a part of who we are to show a different side of what we can become.
Wonderful. Now, another thing, this has bugged me a lot. Pageants in general are focused in the South, even though there's a lot of pageants in the Midwest and all of that. Those girls seem to always get passed up for girls from Texas, Florida, New York, you know, places that you think a lot of the female impersonators who want to be in the business would gravitate towards those cities. Why is it that you think Chicago, Texas, and Florida have the biggest pageants and the other cities, which are so close to them, and they constantly don't get any recognition? I never hear anything about Iowa, Oklahoma, Kansas, all these places around there, North Dakota, South Dakota. You don't hear anything from a lot of the Midwest states. You hear very little even from Louisiana or Mississippi, but you do hear about Jacksonville for other reasons.
Yeah.
Now, what is it that you think the girls in the Midwest are missing? Why is it?
I think a lot of it, to me, and this is just me speaking, I've held several national titles, and I think for me, it's all about the representation. A lot of times people are intimidated by what they really don't understand. It's like if you don't, because I'm the type of person, I don't care where you're from. If I feel that I want to talk to you, I'm going to talk to you. I'm a very approachable person, so I can be anywhere. And like right now, I'm Miss Western Classic, and I'm also Miss Heavenly. So if I see somebody that I know that does female impersonation and they do pageants, but I've never seen them compete in any pageants that I've competed in, then those are the girls that I'm targeting because these are people that I feel like a lot of people don't target and they already feel like they don't have a chance. So those are the girls that I'm looking for because I want to build those relationships and possibly go places that I've never been. But a lot of times people are afraid because of how someone may have treated them. They may have, I mean, and don't get me wrong, a lot of times we look up to people on videotapes that we see because we don't know them and we assume they're one way and then you meet them, they're totally snobby. So of course those girls are not going to run to go to those particular pageants because they've now had an interaction with who they thought was the tea, and they didn't treat them the way they thought they should have. So that, to me, that's what it is. It's all about how you treat a person. And then a lot of times girls feel like they can't compete where they don't compare. You know what I'm saying? If that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. I
So
understand.
because it goes back to that thing of self-doubt. Well, if such and such look a certain way, and oh, I don't look like that, so I'm not going to go. But it's all about grooming yourself. You have to, you have to study. If you want to be it, you have to study. You have to do the homework. And then sometimes I feel like it's okay if you don't understand. It's still okay for you as a person to reach out to the people you want to be a part of. Because if you don't ask them, I mean, somebody has to make the communication or the first step. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Now, entering pageants, you would really think that the girls are looking for opportunity. But like you just said, that the girls are more about fitting in and looking a certain way. So that means that they're really willing to risk their livelihood to just really fit in and not get the real opportunity for maybe making more money, making connections, buying themselves a house, looking for
Right.
opportunity that can benefit them instead of aesthetically looking for validation. Now, do you think pageants are relevant? Do you think they're really relevant? And is there anything you can really get of value from a pageant that will last you a lifetime? Like you said earlier, the sorority thing with the girls is something that they keep forever. Like, let's say Miss Florida. You know, the girls have kept that pageant alive in Florida for many decades. And yet they have a sorority of sisters there that try to keep the pageantry and the drag or female impersonation alive in Florida. Do you think pageants are relevant? And do you think it's relevant enough today for you to make a living?
Honestly, I do, because I'm not sure if you know of this guy, Trent. I think it's very relevant because it has allowed people who have certain talent to go on and be bigger outside of pageantry. Because right now he's doing makeup for celebrities like Yolanda Adams
Mm-hmm.
and several other people. So I think it's really relevant. But again, it goes back to the business side of it. You have to be business oriented to know how to conduct business. Because if it's something that you're good at, you're going to try to push it to make yourself bigger and better. So, like for me, I tell people all the time when it comes to shows, particularly performing and just entertaining, I'm
Mm-hmm.
not so much that girl. I love the shows and I love other people entertain, but that was never my thing. I've always been like the person that wanted to be into public speaking because I feel that's where I'm most valuable when it comes to the fact that I can speak very well. So I think for me, it's open opportunities for me. And it goes to anything in life. You have to find what your strengths and your weaknesses are. And sometimes a lot of people have a lot of strengths, but they're so fearful to use them. And I think that's really unfortunate because they do miss out on a lot of opportunities. Like right now, I'm in negotiations. Um, I won't say the celebrity's name, but I'm in negotiations with doing something with this specific person and working on a project. But that's because
Mm-hmm.
I've allowed myself to connect with certain people. And that's something that you just have to do. You just have to keep yourself out there and push yourself forward, and opportunities will come.
That's wonderful. Now, I want to ask just a couple of questions. I know that there are two different pageants that you've won, Miss
Right.
Heavenly and Miss Westland. Why did you pick those particular pageants to enter?
Okay. Well, Miss Heavenly is a Louisiana-based pageant, and
Mm-hmm.
I've been friends with the owner, who is Opal Vanderhurst. She had this pageant for so many years, and at first she didn't actually have a regular division. It was always like the plus division for of course, the heavier girls, should I say, or the
Okay.
girls that weighed a certain amount of weight. Um,
Okay.
and she always said that she was going to bring a regular division. So when they did it, of course, it was only natural for me to do it because I knew her history and I knew how she was as a person for the community. So that's why I did that one. Now, it's really funny how I came about to do Miss Western Classic. Actually, for many years, I was always supposed to do the regular Miss West. But it never worked out. That's just how life is. Every time it came around that year, either I had to do something for my job, different things happened. So when the classic division came out, and it was like, oh, you only have to be like 40 years. I think it's 42. Is it 40? I want to say 40, 41. I'm like, okay, well, I mean, think about it. The average person
Mhm.
that thinks classic, the first thing most people think is, oh God, they're old. I'm not gonna do the old girl pageant. I'm gonna look like I'm antique or something. So I was like, you know what? There goes another stigma and stereotype in our community. Just because something is being called classic, it doesn't mean you have to look old or you have to have gray hair. It just means you're of a refinement. And so I wanted to break the stereotype that just because you've reached a certain age doesn't mean that you can't do a pageant that gives another opportunity. First, Aja started it when she went and won Miss Continental Elite. So I was like,
Mhm.
that's a great platform because many people don't even make it to see the age that we are at this day in life. So
That's
why not
true.
encourage those girls that here's another opportunity that can push them out there and bring some awareness to people who may not have felt they had a chance to win.
Mhm. How did you feel when you won Miss Westland? I did a little bit of homework. For me, I really want to know, how did you feel when you won? How did it feel the night of, and how are you feeling now about the reign and the title? And how are you feeling about this? How did you feel when you won?
Well, the night that I won, it was very hectic, I must say. It was two contestants, of course, me and Alexis Principal. She's amazing. I love her to death. It was a
Hmm.
really good competition, but for some reason, this particular night, I had like issues going on. Like I've never been nervous in a pageant, like not like I was that night. It was like I had so many little things that was going wrong. It was like, oh my God, I've never experienced it. And
Hmm.
so I thank God that I'm able to maneuver in different ways. And thank God, like, I like to do pageants. Like I said, speaking is one of my strongest suits. I'm never afraid to
Okay.
speak in front of anyone. So thank God that I'm really a good speaker because I had flaws that night. And it was like, interview was, thank God I excelled in interview because that was the first category. So I kind of pushed myself a little bit ahead in that, if that makes sense. But I had a
Hmm.
couple of little issues. And of course, you never know how a pageant is going to fall. So when we got to the end and they were calling the categories, of course, I was like, okay, here we go. And of course, that's that moment where your legs start shaking and you're like, oh my God. So luckily, God blessed me to win. And at that moment, I could breathe a little bit. Now, as far as the rain, I must say, this rain has been amazing. The promoters are amazing. I've worked in my 20 years, I've worked with a lot of people, and I'm just going to keep it real. Some good, some not so good. That's just
Hmm.
anything in life. I
Oh
mean,
yeah,
that's not reading
we
anybody,
know.
but that's just the God honest truth. Some are going to be good, some are not going to be good. And
Hmm.
no matter how you are as a person or how good you are as a person with your heart or how you are internally, some people are just not going to be good people, period.
Hmm. That's
But
true.
I must say, this rain has been amazing. I haven't had to ask for anything. And I'm the girl, I don't really ask for much anyway. I'm very simple. I mean, I guess I never let winning pageants because I've won a lot of national pageants. I've been Miss Black
Hmm.
America, I've been Miss Black Continental, I've been Miss Sweetheart, I've been Miss Ebony, but I'm not one of those girls that allows, um, I guess, the crown to boost my ego. I'm still the same
Hmm.
because I realize at the end of the day, somebody's watching me. And once the title is over, it's not guaranteed that you're going to win anything else ever again. So I just always
Hmm.
prided myself on being treated the way I treat people. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. Now,
So,
go ahead. I just want to say that, to be honest, I've watched you for years. And like
oh my,
I've watched a lot of the other ones for years. But the reason I reached out to you is because there was just something that told me I could connect with you. This is a good person. This person works hard. And there's just something that is special about you. And
you don't have me crying now.
Oh, I'm sorry. For some reason, I connect to people that work hard and that are determined to make a difference. Now, do you think that the community that you live in is thriving from the fact that drag has become mainstream now, or do you still think that people are stuck back in time in, like you say, small towns and places, but now we are mainstream on TV. We're all over the internet. What do you think?
I think some people are still actually stuck because I know people that live here and they win like the state pageant and they're like, I've won everything I wanted to win, but the world is
Mhm.
bigger than your home state. So yeah, some people are definitely stuck, and I just feel like a lot of times people don't give themselves the credit that they deserve. I mean, if I was the person that sat and listened to every time somebody told me that I wasn't going to be this, or I couldn't do this, or couldn't, I would probably be one of those people.
Oh,
Unfortunately, for me, I've always been the type of person, if somebody tells me that I can't do something, that makes me push that much harder to show you that I can. And I think that's what has pushed me so far, because I've overcome a lot of odds. And being that
mhm.
I'm not one of the girls that's like, and I hate to say it because there are some cliques in pageantry. Let's just keep it there,
Mhm.
keep it real. You know,
Okay.
I'm not the girl that's going to be in the clique. So I had to really kick a lot of doors down. I had to really fight really hard. And of course, you know, there were like a lot of doors that probably was closed in my face. But if you keep going, you can only knock me down so many times until you be like,
That's
you know
right.
what? This girl here ain't taking no for an answer. So we're going to go ahead and let her on in, you know?
That's right.
So,
Miss
I mean, you
Buckland?
know, you just have to push your way through life, and that's with anything. You know, sometimes people are not going to understand what you're trying to accomplish, but at the end of the day, you have to set your goals for yourself and not for what someone else thinks. And as long as you're doing what you feel like you want to do or what you love, that's all that matters. I recently did a pageant, Miss Continental. That was in 20. The last time I competed was I think it was 2018, the year that who won that year? Who won the last time I did it? I have a little help in the room. That's my
Okay.
boyfriend. He's over there. I'm trying to ask him. So the year that I did it the last time was 2018. I forget who won. And I've always been the type of girl, if anybody has followed my career,
Tell me what
I've
gown you
always,
wore for evening gown, and I'll tell you who won. Tell me
okay,
what
the
gown
gown
you
that
wore
I
for evening
wore
gown.
that year, the gown that I wore that year, preliminary night, it was like, it had the feathers at the bottom, but I'm trying to remember who won. I forgot.
Brooklyn? Was it Brooklyn Heights?
I don't think it was Brooklyn. That was the year before. Who won? Stasha?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, Stasha won that year. Stasha won. So that was a year for me, that I would say was very difficult, because for the first time, it's like, honestly, for all the years I've competed in pageants, it's always been me and my boyfriend. And he makes a
Mm-hmm.
lot of my stuff. He makes a lot of my jewelry. We do everything pretty much together. And so
Okay.
it kind of goes to show how, if you fall out of the mind space of knowing who you are and you allow other people to come in and tell you who they want you to be, you'll fail. So this
Mm-hmm.
particular year, I changed everything I did. I was always the different girl. I had different earrings. I always created my own stuff. I just had a different style. And this
Mm-hmm.
particular year, I tried to listen to what everybody said. And it was like, well, you should try this and try that. Did that, flop. So that was a learning point for me, that you can be who you are and accomplish what you want. You should never deter from who you are because of what somebody else wants you to be, because that's failure. It's a disaster.
Well, you know, I talk to a regular Miss Continental all the time. I don't want to mention who she is, but
Mhm.
you, like you said, you mentioned her earlier in your conversation. We talk all the time, and she explained to me for years she had been entering Continental and never winning. And she said she kept doing what they wanted her to do.
Yeah.
As soon as she did what she wanted to do, she won.
Hmm. Yeah.
So it goes to show you that if you have a strong mind and a strong will and a determination, and you're confident in what your package is, then you can win or you can go
Yeah.
forth. You just sometimes you can't let people deter you from your gut instinct. My
Yeah.
mother used to always tell me that I miss your mom. My mother used to always tell me that follow your gut instinct and
Yeah.
don't ever doubt it. Just follow it. If it tells you something, you stay on that. Now, I'm really glad I got to have this conversation with you, Miss Weston, Mercedes
Me
Black, somebody
too.
I've looked up to for a long time. You're a great inspiration to a lot of the divas out there. And, you know, a lot of times we don't know when people are watching us from a distance and learning and admire you. People, it's good that I got to actually talk to you, because now I've got to meet someone that I've looked up to for years, just watching in the pageants and going, she should win, she should win, she should win, she
Wow.
should have won. Why isn't that? And you know, and now that I have had the opportunity to talk to you on my show, and I'm just going to tell you this: the reason I'm doing the talk show, to be honest, this was far from my mind. But 2 years ago, a celebrity, I'm not going to say who he is, kept talking to me on Twitter. And you know, you never think you're talking to the real person.
Right.
And then one day he said, just add me on Facebook. I'm going to set up a quick profile and I want you to add me and we're going to video chat like we are.
Mm-hmm.
And he told me straight out, in 5 minutes of his time, he said, you need to be doing talk shows. That's what you need to do. That's what you're good at. He said, you're good at doing the drag and all that, but you can talk. You can gain people's confidence. I look at all your pictures. I look at all your writing. You can talk. Get a talk show. Click.
Wow.
That's what he said to me. And now that I've been doing the videos, he's been commenting, you're doing great. Keep it going. Keep it going. Keep it going. Get more detail. Get better guests. Just talk about everything and interesting about the LGBT pronoun community that nobody wants to listen to. You be the voice for the community. We have Ellen, we have Dr. Phil, but nobody talks about us unless there's something bad happening.
Exactly.
You know,
Exactly.
I am so pleased to have met you, Mercedes. You are an amazing individual. Congratulations on being Miss Westland and Miss Heavenly. And thank you for making a difference in a lot of people's lives that you might not know, but you have set the standard for a lot of people. I take my hair off to you.
Thank you.
And congratulations once again. Thank you for being on my show. And
thank you for having me.
And if you have one word of advice in closing to people that want to enter pageants and might not feel and look aesthetically pageant material, what would you say to them?
Well, the first thing is find somebody that you feel that you have something in common with, because way too many times people will want to be a part of families that don't necessarily fit who they are. Find somebody that you know is going to have your best interest at heart. It's not about what name you carry. It's about what you have in your heart and who you are on the inside. Because there's a lot of people are just with certain families just because of the name. But find out, first thing is find out who you are and determine how far you want to go. And then you get with like-minded people that you want to see help you or help to see your star rise, because everybody wants to have that someone that's going to encourage them, you know, and then write down some goals, do some things, do some research. Nothing was built overnight, so don't get frustrated when it doesn't happen overnight. You know, it's something that you have to work at. I'm still working at certain things. There's things about myself that I'm still learning. I'm still bettering myself. So I would just tell those people, you know, sometimes you have to encourage yourself before you can accept or expect somebody else to encourage you. Start there and then build a plan for yourself and set those goals and work on those goals, you know, and practice. Don't be afraid to ask questions. You know, just do what you have to do, do your homework. It's really about practicing and studying and finding something that you love, and make sure it's your passion, because a lot of times people want to do it because somebody else is doing it, but if it's not your passion, it's not going to work in the first place.
Wonderful. So you need a support system.
Absolutely. Even if it's two people.
Ladies and gentlemen, on the show today, I had the incredible Miss Westland and Miss Heavenly, Miss Mercedes Black. Thank you so much for that great conversation. Like I said, I take my wig off, my hat off to you. You've done great. So thank you very much. Thank you, everybody, for watching the Stephanie Stevens Show. We will see you again soon. Coming up this Monday, we have Mr. Samson Brown on. He is the first Black trans man that was featured in a Gillette ad First Shave. So we're making strides. Thank you, Mercedes. I'll send the video to you shortly. Thank you very much.
Love you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.